Hi, welcome everyone. This is Carly from Carly's Creative Clay, and this week I plan to make a dragon. It's going to be my most complex type of dragon that I make. I will go back to making the simple dragons at a later date and show you how to do that, but I really wanted to push myself and show you one of the more complicated things that I actually make, and it's one of the favourite things of me to do. Last week I asked about colours, and there was a vote for blue and silver, purple and silver, and red and orange. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to go for purple and blue and silver with some pink, just to accent against it, and then I'm going to do the dragon breathing fire, which will include the yellow and orange. So in a rare chance of me being able to say this, everyone gets their colours. That's not going to be always the case. I am going to have to pick and choose, but thankfully this time it is everyone getting their choice of colours. Right, I want to say to everyone, the chat this week, we have now got it so that it will appear on the main screen, and that will be going over to YouTube so people can actually read what is being said. Yes, my admin's just shown like this. Brilliant. He also has a microphone this week, so you should also be able to hear him talk, which is
hello everybody.
Brilliant. This is my husband James. Couldn't do any of this without him. He is awesome. So the other bit of non-clay making that I want to do is every week I want to show off something that is available to buy from my shop. And since I'm making a dragon, I wanted to show off one of my dragons. This is in the trinket box range. I'll turn him round slowly so you can get a proper look. Because I've got so many health problems myself, it was important to me to make a range that helped empower people with some disabilities. And one of the ones I did was a dragon in a wheelchair. Very strong animal, and he looks very happy and very noble. It is a trinket box. The lid comes off. It's got twisting around to hold it in place. Box so you can put your bits in. And it's got feet to it, and that's the bottom. It's £35 plus postage, and is one of my favourites, but they're all my favourites, so you're going to hear me say that a lot. It's going to become meaningless. I love them all. But yes, dragon in a wheelchair, available to buy for £35 UK price. Right, so what I have decided to do is I got started making some canes up so you can see the colours that I'm using. That's the purple. Now I did a skinner blend in the last video, and in a bit I will show you how to make a skinner blend myself again on this one, so you haven't got to go back. But there's a lot of cane work in this, so I thought I'd get started. So what I did was a skinner blend, then folded it into a cube, and then brought the cube down so that the fade is through the scowl shape, and then I've pinched it into a scowl. This is too big for what I'm going to use it for, but it's a good start off size. Now the main body is going to be in that, but so far I've only ever done one main colour on a dragon on its scales, so I wanted to push myself because I always like to do so. So what I thought was going down the spine and out into little peaks, I'll use this pink. As you can see, that's also a fade that's very similar to the fade in the purple. Now, I will go through what colours I used. Now for the stomach, I've done a blue to teal fade in a long bar. That's kind of what it looks like when you reduce it before you pinch the end and then shape the top. So I could turn that into a scale, but if you look at reptile stomachs, they get these long sort of rectangle across the whole stomach in lines, and that helps them for moving along. So that's what I'm going to use this for. Now, with that in mind, with these three colours, I've had a look at different bits of glassware that I can put the dragon on. Now, I go around charity shops a lot, and they've always got a bric-a-brac section, and it's always got a lot of glass and ceramics in it, and these are really good things that you can mount your clay on. And it doesn't matter if they got chips at the edges, or if they're even if they're slightly cracked, because you can encase them in clay, and that helps make them structurally stable. So I've got a shelf with lots of different bits I picked up, and I picked out 4 different things that we could mount this dragon on that might look good. So I'm going to show you in my preference order of least favourite to most favourite, but I'm going to see if anyone's in the chat. If they are, they get to decide on what piece I used to mount the dragon on. If not, then I'll make a decision at that point.
Also, if anybody in the chat really dislikes the chat being on screen, I can disable it, so just let me know.
Yeah. Right. First bit is a mason jar. Now that lid does look loose, but what I've done is the plastic ring that holds that on snugly, I've taken it off because you can't bake that, that'll melt. So you make your item on the jar and then you put the ring on afterwards. So we could have it going around, around the outside of the mason jar. So there's this. Next one, plain glass rectangle vase. Where's better view? That way you can see it all. It's a bit big, but you can see what I mean. Standard vase. Then we have these two. I couldn't choose between personally. It'll be one of these two. This very light green vase. It's got a really good pretty top to it, quite thick. The other option, the last option, is a blue teapot. So
do we need to manually zoom the camera out, do you think?
I think you can see that. So is there anyone in chat that wants to make a decision on what I mount this on? No? Speak now or forever hold your peace and I will pick.
Personally, I like the green vase.
You like the green vase?
Yeah.
Yeah? Shall we go with this? It's a good quality vase for me to be putting one of my most expensive ones on. Yeah. Anyone else saying anything different, or we're going with the vase? Vase? Vase. Right. Let's offload the 3 we ain't using.
I've got
to
a
my
few people lurking.
Master Techie. Can I hand you these and put them somewhere safe? And that gives me...
I'm not going to call out any names because it's...
Nope, that's fine. That gives me...
Not polite to expose the lurkers.
Room. Lurkers is a... It sounds
Like
so
a negative term.
negative.
It's not negative. Some people just like watching content and not interacting as much.
I didn't know that's what that's called, that's all. So, yes. Thank you to all my viewers. You don't have to talk. That is entirely fine. So we're going to go with this very pretty green vase as our main base. And we can get a decent sized dragon on that. Right. Now we picked and we've got some room. I'm going to put this to one side. I'm going to put the canes back over on my board out the way, so they're safe. And the next thing I'm going to talk about is eyes and teeth, because these you've got to make before, and you've got to bake them before you go to doing anything else. So this is a tray of eyes and teeth that I've done. Let's hold it up close to the camera. It's not the greatest focus, but there we go.
That is in perfect focus.
Yeah? Oh, good.
Yeah,
Then,
that's
right. What I do is I make them from Sculpey. And there's a reason why I make my eyes and teeth from Sculpey instead of Fimo, when the rest of the dragon is made from Fimo. This is why. Your Fimo bakes at 110 degrees OC. Sculpey bakes at 130. So I've found with some of the liquid clays, if you bake them several times, they can go cloudy. The actual polymer clay doesn't, you can bake it that as many times as you want, it's fine, it's happy to do so. But I like to use a layer of liquid polymer clay to make that domed see-through effect. Sculpey makes a translucent liquid, and it is the most see-through out of all the liquid clays. Liquid Fimo is quite a cloudy end result, but this stuff is pretty clear. And if it does end up a bit cloudy, you can put a layer of varnish over it, which tends to clear it out. I'll show you how I make this then. I make a little eye on a separate glass coaster so you can see what I do. Right, start out with a little ball of white. Now it needs to be slightly bigger than the eye you want as your end result, because you've got to be able to, it's going to take up some room going into the head, so you don't want it to fall out, so you want to make it so that there's room for you to embed it in a bit. So condition that down, rolled it into a ball, put it on the tray. Let's find the, got dust, I would have dust. Well, this is a test one, so it doesn't really matter. On the real ones I make sure that I really keep the dust out. Right, you're gonna need some ball tools like these. They're metal balls attached to metal sticks, and they are a wonderful set of tools. These are just some of them. I have a lot more, going from very, very big down to absolutely tiny, and I use them a lot. You will see me use them in many future videos. This one is my most used, so much so that it started out wooden like this, and I used it so much the wood cracked, so I had to encase it in clay and bake it, and now it's strong again. So right, you've got your ball of clay. Yep, you're going to put an indent in the middle, a couple of millimeters down. You don't want to go all the way to the back, just a little bit. Then you pick your background colour. I have mixed up lots of eye colours, and what I've done is I've used translucent, so see-through clay. This one was Sculpey. And I mixed mica powder into it. And it does use up a lot of mica powder, but you do get some very sort of metallic clay that, let's see, let's show that up. It looks more like the colours you get in your eyes. It makes it look wetter. So let's do a yellow orange one. So you get a little bit, enough to just underfill that hole that you just made. So you don't want it sort of level to the top or sticking at the top. So I made a tiny little ball.
Go Hedgehog says nice.
That's a bit big already, so you're, because it's eyes, you're working in very small. Right. It's still a little big. If you don't go all the way up the sides, you end up with the colour sunk in a bit. There you go. It's actually just slightly under. Then you get your ball tool and you go back in exactly the same place and make another little dent. So then we're looking like that. See? Now, I like to do two colours in my eyes.
Give me a second to adjust the focus, because
sorry.
the focus isn't very good.
Okay, sorry. How's that?
There we go.
Yeah? So you got your white with your gold. Now I'm going to do a red. And that you need a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit. Really not a lot. So I'm on really tiny small dot of clay. That goes into the middle of the dent you just done. Like that. The reason I'm putting my hand behind things, if it looks weird, it's to help with the focusing. Right. Then you get a tool, that's the next size down. This is the next size down from the one that I was using. And you push that in the middle. So you've got another little cup. So. Can you see? Yeah? Then you get tiniest dot of black. That's going to be your iris. Form that into a ball. Can you see? It's tiny, tiny, tiny. You don't want to fill the whole of the gap, because then you won't see much of the red. That ball is actually too big. If your fingers are too chunky to pick off a bit small enough, you can get your needle tool or pin tool and use that to take a bit off. Like that, so you can get an even smaller amount. Then that goes on your hand, forms into a ball. And you scoop it up onto the tip of your pin tool like that.
Give me a sec to try and focus that. That is going to be very cool. There we go.
Brilliant. And that goes into the middle of, there we go, that's much better size. Can you see that good?
Very tiny.
Yeah, we're working small, it's an eyeball. Then you get your liquid Sculpey, give it a shake, lid off. Now, you're not looking for a lot, you want a little bit. Oop. If that happens, cotton bud. Just take off around the side, because you'll be able to clean up that back once it's baked. That happened to several ones on there. It's because I've got quite a full bottle here. Right, it's better when I pick it up. You want to put a tiny drop into, there we go, into the middle and just make sure that it overlaps onto the white a bit. There we are. That's good. There's a bit of orange there. Right. It looks like all your colour is invisible, but that will bake translucent or see-through. If you've got a bit much and it's dribbled down, you can always clean it up with your cotton bud. But yeah, it looks like a god-awful mess at this stage. But that's it, perfect. Stick that in the oven.
Sorry, give me a sec to focus it.
Oh, let's go up to there. See?
There you go.
You stick that in the oven and it will then come out like the ones on my glass, on my ceramic tile. So I put that to one side. I'll make another one and bake it up. I store a drawer full of eyes of different sizes, and I also keep some teeth and top them up because again I like doing dragons. Right, so that's your eyes. Your teeth, you're making a little ball of clay and rolling it out. I'll show you with a bit of silver. So tiny bit of clay, roll it into a ball, then you take one end and you pinch it and roll it between your fingers, and you got a little point. Let's bring that closer to your fingertip. There you go. Is that better? Yeah? And you can curve the tip around, you can put it in different sort of shapes. And that's what I did over and over again to make lots and lots of teeth. Right, kitchen roll, de-silver my hands.
Can you see the chat, or would you like me to read out the message?
I need you to read out.
Charlie Star is asking, what are we making today?
Oh, right. For all those who've joined in, we are making a dragon. The decisions from last week was that people wanted blue and silver, purple and silver, and red and orange. And I've worked out a way that I can include all the colours.
Fairy Hedgehog asks, are the teeth and eyes baked already?
They're baked already. I made them separately and I baked them. So I was just going through the process of how to make them. But they're far more easier to work with in the model when they're already baked. And you'll see when I get to that stage. So what I've decided for the dragon, we're going to work with this vase, which is a very slight shade. It's a green, but not a very overpowering one. And the main body scale, and I am going to go back over how to make them, but because I needed a lot of them, I made some up front. We have a purple, which fades through from light purple to dark. That's going to be the main part of the body. But going down the spine and out into little points, there'll be this pink to accent. Then the stomach is going to be this blue-green. And then I'm going to do fire, which is going to be yellow, orange and red. And his horns and spikes are going to be in silver. So we've got a ranged cover. Right, I'll put these to one side, and if we get to scales this video, I will show you.
Fairy Hedgehog says, how do you choose your vases? Do they have to be a particular type of glass, or so she likes the colour?
Right, thank you. I go round charity shops and I see what they've got. Anything glass or ceramic. You are at a risk that if they've been glass painted, then when you bake them, they're going to crack. The colour starts to go crackly. I have had this happen on a vase before, and I found that if I whack a lot of varnish over it, it's fine. I do suggest, you don't spend a lot of money. You go to a charity shop, they have a bric-a-brac section that's full of that stuff, and when you buy it, you run it through an oven at 110 to see if it copes with it okay. Most glass and ceramics do. Doesn't matter if they got chips out of them or if they're cracked, or so long as they're structurally stable, you can encase the whole thing in clay so it don't fall apart. Most of my stuff that I make out of glass and ceramics, I've not bought anything new. I think it's better to upcycle something that's not got a good home. Right. But yes, so if it can go for an oven at 110, it's fine. Generally, so long as it hasn't had surface treatments. Right. So, we've done eyes and teeth. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to make an armature for the body. An armature is anything that's like a skeleton or a support structure that you fill a model with. What I'm going to use is tin foil. The reasoning behind this is because the body is going to be quite thick. If the clay doesn't get to 110 right deep in the center, it will stay soft. So if it has a foil center, that's a lot more structurally stable than soft clay around hard clay. So this is what's recommended. So it will be a bit rustly whilst I shape it, but it's important to see how to do this. Any tin foil, the cheapest stuff. I don't get the non-stick or anything like that. You don't need it. It's not being used for that purpose. So I'm going to start out with a small bit, and we're going to work out the sizing against the vase for what we want. So I'm starting to shape into a teardrop. Hold that against the vase and go.
Fairy Hedgehog said 110 degrees Fahrenheit or centigrade.
Centigrade, sorry. 110 centigrade. Everything I do is I work in centigrades. That's what my oven is, so my brain is hardwired to it. Right. You don't need it like excessively packed, but you want it so that it's pretty firm, so it's hard to squidge. So this is going to be too small for that vase. I think I need a little more. And if you want a bit more, it's easy to add. Just take some more off. Right, put this out of the way. That should do it. Stick that in the centre and then scrunch up around it. So we are looking for a teardrop kind of shape. Now what I'm going to do, you can do this two ways. What I'm doing is I'm going to use the glass chopping board to rub all the sharp points so that it's smooth. You can use a little hammer to hit it a lot, but why make your wrist ache by doing that all the time? So what I'm doing is I'm using my board to smooth and shape, because you don't want points to come through the clay. Now it's going to be thinner at one end for a neck, and then thinner at the other end for the start of the towel, and then quite a round body. You see I'm going for quite a long sort of rounded diamond. So let's rub on the board. The worst thing you have is you finished your work and you have a look up closely and there's a bit of tin foil poking through your design, and you've got to try and smooth it down and cover it up, and it's easier to do this.
If there are deep creases in it?
Nope, deep creases are fine because this is going to get covered in an awful lot of clay. Still, it's not. You can do very thin veneers, but they're not very strong. Now, other thing you can do at this stage is you get masking tape. Clay likes to stick to the surface of masking tape. It's a rough enough one for them, and it doesn't burn in the oven, and it holds everything down and stops any sharp points coming through. So I just do a quick wrap up.
Can I suggest you move the green bars because it's
Yes,
kind of
sorry, let's move you out the way. I am going to need it accessible for reference, so I'll put you there. Right, so I'm just going over it until I see most of it covered. I get my masking tape from the pound shop. You shouldn't be spending more than £1 on it. I know I've seen it in craft shops and DIY shops for like £3 to £5 a roll. It's the same stuff. You don't need
I think you
to
either
spend
need
that
to
much.
turn the camera upwards a bit or move your hands down a bit.
Oh, sorry.
You could just turn the camera
This is
upwards a
fine.
bit, but it's up to you.
Right. Almost got it covered. There's a bit more around here. There we go. Now, a couple of gaps there. Right. So it's pretty quick to cover up your tin foil. You went across there. There we go. Got ya. Now, put my masking tape away. Roll this, make sure it's all stuck down properly. There we go. You're already making works of art. Now, the clay I'm going to start using, what I've done is I've got scrap bits I'm not working with anymore of different projects, so excess clays, and I have mixed it all together because none of this clay is going to be seen. It's all going to be covered up with scales, but we need some clay to make the main under the shape of the body, and then we put the scales on top. So there wasn't any point me using my decent coloured clay. I might as well get rid of some of my scraps. Now there's about 1 million uses for scrap clay. Never throw away good clay. There's always stuff you can do with it, and you don't have to mix up into big blocks like this. You can reuse it in different projects. I will show you some of the things you can do with scrap clay over the time. Right, first thing that I'm going to do,
asks, how long did it take you to work all of this out?
I started making dragons as one of the first things I ever did with my clay, because I love dragons, hence dragon top, and yeah, I'm a dragon person. Even, I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, on my glasses, they're little dragons that I made. Don't know if the zoom in can... Alright, yeah. Right. Right is Raphael, left is Lucian. So, every dragon I make is different from the one before, and I try to push myself a bit more. I think I must be in the hundreds now. Probably low hundreds, but I think I made 100 dragons by now. Right, so I've cut a bit of a block off. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a chunk for a neck and a towel. So have a look at roughly how much clay you want to use for that. So probably these two. Now, what I'm going to do, start to take the corners off the square. Naughty, naughty, blade face away from me every time. Keep your tissue blade facing away. Right, I'm pushing it onto that end, and I'm gonna bring the sides down. It's not going to stick that well, that's fine. We are covering all this in clay, but we need a bit of excess at either end to start to build the neck from, and it's easier to add that at the start. So I'm just pushing it down and pushing down the edges so that it's onto the sides a bit better. See, going round, pushing it on, going down. You're not looking for shape of that, don't bother with anything with that. Just took the main sharp corners off because it's easier to start doing that spin and push down without edges, but we will be shaping that later. Same again with the towel end. Take the corners off. Whoop. Take the corners off. Try and make sure when you push them on you're not trapping air in there. I've done it before where I didn't check properly that I made sure that I weren't trapping air. I caught a big old air bubble, and then when I brought the neck up thin, there was about a few millimeters of clay either side of the air bubble, and obviously the neck broke off. It's not our friend when air bubbles form on a structurally integral part.
Very Hedgehog says, how frustrating.
It's all fixable because you can add raw clay, rejoin, smooth it all in and then rebake it, so long as it hasn't happened after you varnished it, because most varnishes can't go through the oven. Fimo and I think Sculpey do their own varnishes that can, but I found A, they were very expensive, and B, they were quite sticky afterwards. Not a good varnish. I didn't even finish the bottle before that went in the bin. So yeah, push the towel on, and I'm doing the same as I did last time. Bring down the edges so that it is more securely attached. So we're now left with that. If you can see, one side's got a raised bump to it, the other side's kind of flat. Reasoning behind this, the flat side's going to be the stomach, so when you get the vase, keep checking that you've got an angle that will work right with its shape. So even at this stage, you're trying to shape that base so that it fits where you want. Yeah, you can do it a lot at the later stage, but I find if you do a little bit throughout, it's easier. Right, next with this stuff, with the big block, actually I use a little bit at the end, we're going to cut slices about, what are we, ½ centimetre thick, a couple of them. Again, it doesn't matter if it's, you don't spend ages measuring. So what I'm going to be doing is trying to cover the body. So a few more slices going to be needed. goes together. Do this. I'm going to start to mould it round. It doesn't matter if it cracks a bit, that's fine. We will sort that out at a later point. Cat hair. It's amazing. She's not even allowed in here and her hair still gets in with my clay. But you can pick them out. Many great clay artists have cats that they have to be vigilant with the things they make. It isn't full of cat hair. There are some people who use things that I wouldn't use in my clay. I've heard rumours of sort of teeth being made from toenail clippings and just no. So yeah.
Charlie Star says she just wants to be part of the show.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Hedgehog says, what happens if the cat eats some of it?
Again, won't die. This polymer clay has a child safe rating. That in order to get that, it needs to be able to be eaten without doing any harm. I wouldn't suggest it as a main dietary source, but it shouldn't kill you. I know they've tested up to, I think it was 5 or 10 grams. Quite a big old chunk with no problem. And I have accidentally eaten brown clay that I thought was chocolate. Tastes of nothing. It weren't sort of gag worthy. It's okay. It's fine. Yeah, not a lot of flavour to it, so it's not a good food source. So yeah, looking horrendous so far, but it's meant to. So don't worry, you will turn out to be a beautiful boy at some point pretty soon. You will see why I generally put a higher price on these than my other dragons. Because my other ones I can make in about half a day. These ones with the canes all over them take a long time, so I probably won't get finished in this video. Little gap there, almost done. Let's fill you up. So I'm being very, not bothering about being neat or even. It's just as long as it's covered, which it is now. Yeah. Now to tidy it up. So again, blade out the way. I'm going to start to roll it on my board and use my fingers to smudge over and take out the cracks. You can use rolling pins, you can use any tool you want really, but I think your hands will do fine. Just a bit of work, rolling, rolling, rolling. Bear in mind you don't snap the end bits off, because that's always not, it's harder to add them after this, because can you see they go slightly underneath the body clay, so it just helps you to join them in smoothly. Now there is an argument that you don't need to smooth out all the joints and make this look that attractive, so long as you get the shape right, because you're going to put a load of scales over the top of it. But I think it's a stronger piece. It's less likely to break if you take all these join lines out. So just going over with my thumb.
Charlie Star suggests right now it looks like a manatee.
A very brown manatee, but yes. A lot of things have this sort of body shape to it. There's a lot in nature. Once you're going from once you're not upright, when you're down on all fours, it suits to have a rounded back, flat stomach, head at one end, legs down the other. It's this basic shape we tend to start out with pretty much everything. Is this sort of, I look at it more like a sweet in a wrapper, because you get the little sticky out bits. Maybe I'm just too pudding obsessed.
Charlie Start is saying it looks quite grey from what they're seeing. That might be that I have got the colour misadjusted. I'll just have a look at that.
Right, sorry this is a little bit long and boring, but we're almost there with it. I just got to do this top end, and then whoop, and you, because you've not even been joined properly. Now, sorry, the cough is still there. I
think I've brought a bit more colour into it by adjusting the white balance. I hope that's
Thank you. Right. So, we mostly got there with this. There we go. That'll do. Right. So from that really scruffy start, we're now down to quite a smooth sort of boiled sweet look. Now we're going to shape up that head and that towel. So you decide which end's going to be your neck and which end's going to be the towel. I tend to go for the thinner end as the towel end. If you look, that's slightly chunkier than, sorry, this side is slightly chunkier than that side at the base. So I start on the towel, and what I do is I hold the bump and I just start to bring it out into a point. You can also do it on the tabletop like that. Make sure you don't snap it.
Fairy Hedgehog said it
you can always bond
grey,
it back in.
almost silver when the light catches it.
Oh, cool. Interesting. So the towel is coming down. Right. Bit more out. Tried to break off there. If it tries to break off, you can always smooth it back in. Just, it's only a problem when you don't pay attention and you take the whole thing off, and then you just got to push it back on and smooth it back in. But clay is a very forgiving thing. You can fix most things, and if you can't fix it to become what you want it to, you can always change it into something else. So many things that have started out a pot have turned into a more of a coaster. I've had picture canes that distorted, so I twisted them and turned them into more of like a kaleidoscope type look. There we go. Right, so remember the towel is going thick down to thin, so if you thin up that end too much, you just push on it, and can you see it starts to thicken up? So if you wanted, you could bring your whole towel back to being short and thick. That's how much you can work the clay. It's pretty amazing stuff. If you couldn't mend your mistakes, I really wouldn't be working with it, because I make enough of them. So there you go. Roll you out into a round, join you back on. I think the reason why that one cracked a bit, can you see where I'm trying to smooth it out, is denting in, means I trapped some air there. So what you can do, if you think there's an air bubble under the surface, you get your pin tool, you put it in, give it a wiggle so that any air pocket has been freed up, then you push the space closed, and you can then, I know it looks like I've completely ruined that towel, but I actually haven't. You can bring it back again, into shape that you want and just cover up. See, that's how quick it is to bring it back to not looking like a disaster area. Here we go. Right, so took a little bit longer, but I did show you air bubbles, so I suppose it's useful. Right, we've got a tail sorted. Neck, same again. I'm going to bring it up, but we want to keep this very thick, so we're not going to bring it to a point. We're going to just keep working round. So we've got a thick neck. There's a bit of a ridge there that I'm going to close up. There we are. Now let's bring that to the shape that you want. There. So that looks about right to me. One basic dragon shape. Now you want to again get your vase, check that you've got your scale right and you've got an idea of where you're going to shape it, which I think I'm going to end up doing that with mine, that sort of thing. So we've got a shape like that, because it can help you smooth out and get like that neck didn't look right when it was flat. The moment I've curved it in, it now looks more like it should. So getting your vase is always useful. So we've got a neck. I take it off, put it down there, put this to one side. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some florist wire. I'm going to, because it's a big piece, I'm going to get a thick bit. You can also use, the other thing I use for my thickest wire, metal coat hangers. They're cheaper than the equivalent thickness in florist wire or crafting wire, and you can just straighten them up with your pliers. Going to go to the neck end. We're going to, oops, don't shake hands. Even with the shaky hands of fibro, I still managed to do all this. So shaking hands you can still work with. Try not to take your eye out with this. Put it down. Get your cutters. Oop, here we go. Now, the reason why you want a little spike of metal is to be able to mount the head on and help it secure.
Fairy Hedgehog says, do you buy the florist wire online, and will you give us a list of the stuff we need at the end or on the YouTube?
I can give you a list of the stuff at the end. Everything is, I buy everything either eBay or Amazon, but there are lots and lots of crafting supply shops online all over the place, so it is worth shopping around for. I have seen with every one of my crafting supplies, I've seen them sold at a really cheap price and at an excessively expensive. I'll give you an idea. The Fimo I use, those big bars. Here we go, let's get one. This is a 350 gram bar. I get it from a guy called Robert Duckett, who runs a site called Tum Dee Doll's House. I will put a link on the video. He sells it, I think it's $7.20 or $7.30, that kind of price for a bar like this. I've seen it in WH Smith's at £25 a bar. That is a massive price difference. If I was paying £25 a bar, I've already used 15 quid. No.
XX4DXX says, now it looks like a seal.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're moving
And
through the
Dark
animal
Brass
range.
says, I thought it was a seal too.
I have made seals. Actually, one of my favourite trinket boxes. Give me a second. I'll just go and get it because it's on the shelf above me. Involves seals. Here we go. Right. Can you see? And the glass ball. Let's see if I can catch it. 'Cause it's a cat's eye ball. When you catch it in the light, right? Can you see that? Look at that. And they're little seals playing around it. Again, spirally lid. It's a trinket box. Now, you see what I mean? Anything that can go through an oven at 110 can be included. Thank you. I really do like that. It's simple. It's one of the more simple ones I've actually made, but very effective. Again, that's already in my Etsy shop. Right, back to my dragon. So we've got a head spike that's securely in. We've got a body made, a tail made, a neck made. Right, so I would say what we're going to do next, we're going to probably do some legs. So get my...
You might not believe this, but it will be 6 o'clock in 4 minutes.
Wow, has it been an hour already? Okay. Do you want me to go to an hour and a half, or do you want me to make it so that I continue next week? Quick vote from the group. I'm not seeing anything. Legs or no legs? No? Hour and a half. Yeah, carry on. Okay, right, legs. You want 4 chunks, roughly the same size of each other, and in proportion with the body. So, yeah, that looks about right. A little bit smaller.
Comments from people saying they want you to continue.
Thank you. See, my last video, the 3-hour one, firstly, it half killed me. I was bedridden the next day. It was awful. So I ain't doing that again. And people were saying that they found it too long a video on YouTube, which I know some streamers do stream for like 18 hours, but they're playing computer games. Apparently on a craft video, 3 hours is too much, which is fair enough. Just a bit small. Let's take that bigger. There we go. A little bit more on that one. We'll see when we shape them into balls. That looks about right there. There we go. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you all. You know, you had my dad in for my first session, and he said, I'm going to order you some blades that I think would be useful. Well, he did. I want to show you what he ordered me. Thank you to my dad. These two. Now, what we got is an actual blunt palette. It's a plasterer's chop down blade. It looks like a big palette knife. It is blunt. I do at some point want to try and organise getting a blade on that. Sort of sharpen it up. Probably with sandpaper or a Dremel. But when I chop up big blocks, I can just hack through it. So it gives you an idea. It's an easy chop through, but it smudges. It doesn't cut clean. So I couldn't use it for any precision cutting. The other one, but it's useful. The other knife, this is used for people who put down vinyl flooring, and they use it sort of, you can score with it, you can cut down that way like that, you can cut down and then bring around, so the blade is on a round, or you can cut down through this way. I think this will be more and more useful to me as I practice with it. I'm very keyed into tissue blades, but again, I'm not sure it's got a sharp enough edge for a very clean cut. But they're useful ones to play with, and I will be experimenting with them as time goes on. So thank you to my dad for that. I did a bit of research because darling hubby asked me, why are tissue blades called tissue blades? You don't cut tissue with them. Well, I googled searched this, and what they're used for is the lab technicians, when they have to prepare a tissue sample, it's not tissue paper, it's tissue flesh, for a microscope. So if they're doing a biopsy of something, you've got to make very fine slices in order to make the slide up. Those are the blades they use, and that's what they were designed for. But because they're designed to make long, thin, precise cuts, they're perfect for polymer clay. So my four cubes I'm shaping into balls, and that's when I can tell properly whether something is equal to each other in size proportion wise. I find it harder to tell with cubes and rectangles. My eyes are trained for little balls, because yeah, like this, they can match up the height one side, but you're not sure about the thickness the other side ain't right. It's easier to roll them out and then do that and go, that one's slightly bigger, which it is. So I take a pinch off, bring it down to that. There we go. That's better. More cat hair. It might not be cats. It's entirely reasonable that I shed hairs periodically. We all do. Right. There we go. 2, 3.
It's also possible that we bring the cat hair in on our jumpers and stuff.
It is, yes. Yeah. So as a side note, once I've done this dragon, I better do something Christmassy for you all. So I know that I want to make a big sign for at the front of my house, because we don't really do outdoor decorations. I made one for Halloween and it was very popular. So that may be what we do next, unless I get commissions in, which is entirely possible. So we got our 4 balls. What are we looking at? The size roughly right? Yeah. Okay. What we're going to do.
Duff Brass suggests a reindeer.
Yeah. Well, what I'm planning, I'll show you. I took some old chipboard sheets like this. Whoops, I knocked the face camera. I got some old chipboard out of a set of drawers, and I'm going to use that to make like a big Happy Christmas poster, and I'm thinking sky and igloos. And
says that the Halloween one was awesome.
Yeah, so that's, thank you. So that sort of thing, sky, igloos, snowmen, seals, penguins, reindeers, Santa, the whole bit. So hopefully that's up next. Right, legs. Your back legs are going to be doing something different than your front legs. Okay, so if you've got 2 balls that are slightly bigger than the other ones, you want the smaller ones for your front and the bigger ones for your back. But the difference is very marginal and you won't really tell the difference. Right, you're going to start out by you're squeezing the ball in the middle all the way around.
I'm just going to go plug in a wire. Actually, no, I can't plug in a wire. Never mind.
Right, okay, I will never mind then. So, can you see I'm squeezing the middle all the way around? Now, it sounds weird. What we're starting with is the knee. And you go, how's that a knee? It looks more like a dumbbell. But we are getting there. So, still got a bit of thickness to it. You don't want to take it down too thin. The smaller of the two balls, because one always inevitably ends up smaller. If they are perfect both sides, that's fine. Just pick a side. Right.
Charlie Star has said a tree with all the decorations on it would be pretty cool. That could be a flatter shape in the background.
That was my fault, yeah. So I'm just elongating that very slightly. That's going to be the calf. Yeah. Now we're down to the bigger ball. Like we did a divide there, we're going to do one and make a little ball at the tip. So squeezing in the middle, making a slightly smaller ball for the tip. This is going to be your foot. So we've got calf there. That's going to be a knee. This is going to be, hang on, calf's the bottom one, yeah? Sorry. Calf there, thigh there, foot there. Right. Get my anatomy mixed up, which is terrible. I'm a trained masseuse. I shouldn't get my anatomy mixed up, but I haven't done it properly in a long time. So that's what you got. 2 elongated bumps and 1 small bump with sort of thicker stick joins. Here's where the magic happens. The top little stick you're going to fold in half and shape with your fingers into that knee. Then that bump at the bottom you push at the ankle and you flatten it out like that, and then you bring it into the shape
XX
of
or
a foot.
XX says, thanks to you, I'm sat here making a polymer clay dragon. And Darth Brat says,
oh cool, you're working along with me. Then I'm gonna.
Darth Brat says, ooh, nice 4D, good luck to you. We'll have to show me.
Cool, you'll have to show me as well. Can you see I'm bringing a heel out as well? And that's slightly curved over the foot. So, let's see, is that okay? Yeah, you can see, brilliant. So, that's the back leg. Now, you're going to do that again with the other one. So, through the middle, squeezy squeeze. As a side note, I discovered today I finished my Christmas shopping, so woo! I usually do it a lot earlier than this, but I've just been too unwell recently. Right, second bump at the bottom. But I didn't watch a tutorial on how to make dragons. What I did was I got a plastic toy dragon and I looked at the components and thought about how I can make my own, and it was really important that I did that I didn't follow other people's ways of doing it. So I've ended up with very much my own style of dragon. Now, do the feet look the same? What do you reckon? They're roughly the same thickness. That's a little thinner than the other one, so let's bring it back a bit. There we go. Yeah, that looks about right. Heels all shaped up. Now, calf's a bit round, so let's do that with it. Right, now we do the join in the middle. So you can shape the foot first before you do the knee. As long as you do them all, it doesn't matter which way round you do it. So foot like that, calves in, knees in. Right, we have 2 back legs. See? So, put them to one side. Next 2 balls, we're going to do arms. So let's move you out the way a bit more.
Mary Hedgehog was saying that she loves that all your work is your own design.
There is some things I copy. I'm not the first person to make a dragon scale out of a Skinner blend. But my main base design, I wouldn't enjoy it so much if it was someone else's. Right, now it's almost the same for the arms. So we're going through the middle and we're going to squeeze out to make the same sort of join that we used for the knee there. We're going to make more of an elbow. And yes, they do look similar, but it's what they do with the other 2 bits. So, which side looks bigger? I'd say that side looks bigger. So we're going to shape that into the top of an arm. So it needs to be thinner than a thigh. Thigh.
Can I suggest you tilt your face cam more upright or straight? Can you see what I mean?
Like that?
Yeah, because you were sitting at the very bottom of it.
How's that?
Yeah, that's, well, a little bit better.
So, can you see that is a lot more elongated than that side? See? That's what you want. So then again, you want a little second bump for a hand. You want to keep that roughly the same size as the foot. Getting a wrist. There we are. Now, that's going to be that bottom bit. Bring that again a bit more elongated. Everything's a bit more elongated on an arm. The legs have more of the figure of 8 look to it. So we're now down to that. What we're going to do, shape the hand into a point, but we're not going to put a heel on. Just going to make a little flat hand. Now, what I like to do is I put these to one side, stretched out like that, because I'm going to position them on the vase how I want, rather than bend them up at this stage. So, last arm. Around the middle, you get kind of quick at it. Now I know 4RD had suggested for one of my videos to see if I can make a basic dragon blindfolded. I'm really tempted. I think I will, you know. It might be a bit down the line and you probably end up with something that ain't going in my shop. So it'll end up probably being something I give away to people on chat. But I gotta reckon I might actually be able to make a dragon. I think the hardest part, believe it or not, is going to be situating the wings with a blindfold on. I think the rest of it, you'll be able to feel where it's meant to go. But I reckon I'll end up with the wings slightly in the wrong place. But other than that, it will be very dragony. Right, we're checking. Does it look roughly the same? That one needs to go a little bit more out.
Darth Brass says, it's wonderful to watch you work. I'm just amazed at the process and watching the dragon take shape. You make it look so easy and effortless.
Everything is a set of simple steps, even brain surgery. The trick is knowing the steps. And that's where a good teacher comes in. If you have a bad teacher, you're gonna find that everything is hard and unenjoyable. Fun makes stuff simple. That looks roughly right. Yeah? Do you reckon? Pretty similar.
Looks good to me.
So, we now have legs and arms. So, weirdly enough, at this stage, we need to put its main tummy scales on. What have we got? 15 minutes. I can do that. So, it probably won't be this video that I show you how to do the blend down and chop it so that it sits right like this, but in my last video I did show you it's a Skinner blend and you push it into the shape you want. That's the same with these, it's just a different colour. And what I've done is a top to bottom fade that the longest part is on the horizontal. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some kind of thick slices of this. So the reason why I'm doing the stomach scales before I put the legs on or make a head is because we can't attach this to the vase until the stomach's in place, and it's a lot easier to put the legs on and then go over the whole thing once it's on. It will go on and off that vase a lot before the end, and at the very end, once it's baked, I will probably be taking it off and then gluing it back on. So I'm doing about
Are you using brown
half
clay as a base, as filler, because that's as you said, that is your scraps of clay?
When you mix lots of scraps together, you will generally find out that the clay ends up turning to that browny grey colour. It's the same when you mix lots of different shades of Play-Doh together. It wound up that colour because I had lots and lots of different small endy bits that were too small for me to use, and I needed something, it didn't matter what colour it was because it's going to get completely covered in scowls. So it wasn't a chosen colour, it's just what my ends mixed together ended up looking like. Right, so they're about a little bit over 1/2 centimetre thick. So what I'm going to do with them is I'm going to push them flat and pull them out so that they're longer. See? Like that. Now we are going to start from the neck and work our way down. So put it upside down. If this is a good trick. If you are new to it and you haven't made a load of dragons like I have, draw yourself a guide. So put it down and go, where do I want my stomach to be? Just get yourself any tool, needle, anything that will draw a mark, and draw where you want it to sit. And I will show you. Alright, this is going to come up, but I've got to see what I'm doing with this or it'll look a bit weird. So like that, and on the outside edge probably along like that. Whoop. We're going too far up. There we are. Sorry, I know this is boring, but if you don't guide it out properly, you'll end up with a stomach that's halfway up the dragon's back, and that's not a good look. Right, so as you see, I don't know if you can see on the camera that I scratched out a guideline on where I want it. Now, you got to pick which end is going to be the tip of the scale and which end's going to be closest to the body. I think it's going to be blue down to the green. So I'm pinching the green end very thin. Yeah? Now, neck first, we're working this way back. So find your line each side. There we go, like that. And your, hang on, no, towel first. Come on, Carly, get this right. Because you've got to work in the opposite direction to this where you want the scales to lay. So that would be down here. You're going to attach the blue bit and leave the green bit to stick up slightly. And once it's gone round where you want, you can cut it if it's too long, like that. See? Then you go over the next one, slightly lift up the green, once
so
I've got this in place.
Layering them, and
yeah.
Because you're layering them, you
Can
have to start opposite the direction that they're laying, so that you can layer them. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And you're going to work all the way up to the neck. And what I might end up doing is I'll do a bit on camera, and then over the week I'll finish off doing just the stomach off camera, so that when we start the next video you haven't got to sit here and watch me layering up all these little ridges. So there we are. Now it seems like a lot of extra work, especially since this is going to be just pushed onto the underside of the vase. But if you think about it, the vase itself is made of glass, so it's see-through. So you will still see the underside. That's a little bit too close. Let's bring that up. If you position it wrong, you can always take it off and relay it. So I've done 3. Can you see so far? They stick up a bit. When we put them on, they will flatten down a lot more, but the edges you want to stick up right, so it will end up kind of like that on this side. So then we're going to put the purple going across the top. Does that make sense? Right, just checking there weren't nothing else in chat, but no. Right, so with this dragon, it's a lot of repetitive of the same technique. So this will take probably 2 or 3 hours, probably a little more, to take that all the way up past the neck. So we are coming up to an hour and a half. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say goodbye to you all, and I will carry this on next week. I would do a longer one, but I've had a lot of feedback that I really shouldn't go beyond an hour and a half. If you like this video, do click the like box. You can subscribe to this. You can subscribe to my Twitch, my Twitter, my Facebook, Instagram, so you can follow them all. That's the And I will be posting each week about an hour before I go live to say that I'm going to be going live. So my next one will be on a Wednesday. It's every Wednesday 5 p.m. GMT, and I will next week be attaching this to the vase, putting the legs on and starting doing the scales across the back.
Darth Bra said they agree, although they would love to see the whole process. They did enjoy your 3-hour video.
Thank you. Maybe once I've done them, we will do an edit and put one of them all cut together. It's possible.
You mean a supercut?
Yeah.
You might be able to do that.
I'll see whether I can sweet talk my lovely techie husband into doing this. But this will all sit fine. What I tend to do is I've got a plastic Tupperware lid. I put it on a tray and I put my plastic lid over the top of it to stop dust getting in. It don't need to be airtight because it's not going to dry out like normal clay. You do have to check with plastics. Some plastics can be melted by polymer clay. It's weirdly enough, it's the same family as them. It's usually the PVC and the polystyrene range actually. Also, they're notorious for melting. So what I say, if you're going to use plastics to store anything, get a bit of clay 24 hours before you're planning to use it and just push it onto the plastic, leave it 24 hours. If you come back and when you peel it off you find it looks like you've stuck it down with glue, it should come off. Sorry, it should come off stringy, like you've put a load of glue on it and then tried to stick it down. That's it melting the plastic. It's the plasticizers in your polymer clay that can do that. Baked clay will not ever melt plastic. But you got to watch it because not only does it ruin the plastic thing, it also ruins the clay that's come into contact with it. So do test before you store in your plastic stuff. But all my plasticware I've tested before using, and I use a lot of it. It is a good thing to store your clay in.
I've got a couple more comments. Can I draw your attention?
Oh, more comments. I can't wait to see this finished, and Darth Bra agrees. I can't wait to see it finished. I am always excited on my clay work. I really am. And this is going to be a beauty because it's going to have lots of different colours on it. It will be my most advanced dragon I've made so far. And you guys get to watch me doing it and giving me hints and tips. I really do appreciate you all coming. Thank you so much. I'm enjoying my time with you all already. And it's only the second time. Well, have a good week, everyone. And I'll speak to you soon. Okay, bye.